Alright guys, Jameis and Alex here. Urge. Today we're going to be moving on in the Subclass series with the next subclass we're going to be talking about from the Critical Role. I guess it's technically homebrew on D&D Beyond because it's not official yet. So going into the next subclass there, we have the Way of the Cobalt Soul Monk, which was featured in Campaign 2. But if you're new to the channel or to the subclass series, what we're going to do is we're going to go through all the abilities gained in this subclass.
Right.
Then we're going to rate it based on its roleplay value, combat value, and overall class synergy, based on how the abilities gained in this subclass improve on the base class abilities.
Indeed.
We also have a giveaway soon for D&D Beyond Players Bundle, so be entered in that. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe down below to be entered into that. But we'll just jump straight into the video, guys.
Okay, so starting off with the Way of Cobalt Soul subclass, we have at level 3, Extract Aspects. I say that slowly so I don't butcher that. I have a tendency to do that kind of thing. So it says, being at 3rd level, when you choosing this tradition, you can strike pressure points to extract crucial information about your foe, granting you insight about their combat abilities. Whenever you hit a creature with one of your attacks granted by your flurry of blows, you mark them as analyzed. Whenever an analyzed creature misses you with an attack, you can immediately use your reaction to make an unarmed strike attack against that creature. This benefit lasts until you finish a short or long rest. In addition, you learn the following attributes about the target: damage vulnerabilities, damage resistances, damage immunities, and condition immunities. So something to note on something there, it says this benefit lasts until you finish a short or long rest. So you can analyze as many things as you want.
Right.
But
and there is the next ability,
right,
which ties into that as well.
Indeed.
Which is Extort Truth at level 6. If you hit a creature with an unarmed attack, you can spend 1 key point to force them to make a Charisma saving throw. On a failed save, the creature is unable to speak a deliberate lie, and all Charisma checks directed at the creature are made with advantage for up to 10 minutes. You know if they succeed or fail on their saving throw. An affected creature is aware of the effect and can thus avoid answering questions to which it would normally respond with a lie. Such a creature can also be evasive in its answer as long as the effect lasts.
So it can choose to not answer your question or talk around the topic, but it can't outright give you false information.
Right. It's kind of like Zone of Truth, essentially.
Pretty much.
That's what it is.
Also at level 6, we get Mystical Erudition. You've undergone extensive training with the Cobalt Soul, teaching you extensively in history or lore from the monastery's collected volumes. You learn 1 language of your choice, and you gain 1 proficiency with one of the following skills of your choice: Arcana, History, Investigation, Nature, and Religion. If you already have proficiency in one of the listed skills, you can choose instead to double your proficiency bonus for any ability check you make that uses that chosen proficiency. Gain an additional language and additional skill proficiency from the above list when reaching level 11 and level 17. Do love the fact that it's not just, hey, here's 5 more skills, pick 3 of them.
Right.
Over the course of your, 3 different choices there. You can choose to go ahead and grab an expertise,
right,
essentially, in one of the chosen ones available there. So that's cool. So if your background already gave you 2 of these, for
right,
example, you wouldn't be pigeonholed to force to take the other 3. Right. If you want to go ahead and be really good at your investigations, you do have that choice.
Yes, for sure. Then we have at level 11, Mind of Mercury. You've honed your awareness and reflexes. Once per turn, if you've already taken your reaction, you may spend 1 key point to take an additional reaction. This is really interesting just because, as far as I'm aware, I don't think there's anything else that gives you an extra reaction.
Nope.
So
not,
that is definitely
not any other official content. Maybe there's some
very unique
UA out there somewhere.
So being able to do that, it's not going to be super helpful all the time, though it might let you get an extra opportunity attack or deflect missile or whatever.
Yep.
Maybe you multi-class with something that could give you better reactions.
Yep.
Who knows? But definitely very interesting to add that feature.
And finally, at 17, you do get the Debilitating Barrage. You have gained the knowledge to temporarily lower a creature's fortitude by striking a series of pressure points. Maybe hit a creature with one of your attacks granted by your flurry of blows. So again, that ties in back with the top.
Yes.
You can spend 3 key points to cause the creature to suffer a vulnerability to a damage type of your choice for 1 minute, or until they take damage of that type. Creature who is affected by this feature cannot be affected again for 24 hours. So you can choose to proc this on one of your things, and you can pick any damage type you want, and it will sit until somebody does that damage type for up to 1 minute.
Right.
So whether you want one of your big spellcasters, you're gonna just fire. It's like fireball.
Yeah.
Fireball does double damage. Obviously, you use a monk, you're probably not going to be using this yourself.
Right. It doesn't really make much
because
sense.
your unarmed strikes aren't doing
Not
a
much.
bunch of damage on single hits. All your monks and rangers are kind of like death
by
by
a
1,000
cuts.
cuts, essentially, because you've got your attack, your extra attack, and you can attack as a bonus action. If you want to spend a key point, you get an extra attack as a bonus action. So not going to be good for you, but great for supporting, letting your explodey blaster spellcasters go absolutely ham on somebody, or your sneak attack rogue.
Exactly. You just got to make sure you pick the right damage type and just
Right.
make sure no one else. So if they're trying to fish for that rogue sneak attack, and they have a dagger, you're not gonna.
Hey, nobody else do any piercing damage to this guy for this round.
Exactly. Or for the next minute until we get that sneak attack.
Right.
So so definitely you can plan around that and do accordingly. But those are all the abilities gained in the subclass, so now we'll move on into the rating portion of the video. First up is the roleplay value, asterisk, as always. When we're talking about roleplay value, we're talking about interacting with the world around you, interacting with NPCs, non-combat scenarios, avoiding combat, basically things outside of the initiative order. You're not talking about your class fantasy, history, lore, background. That's on you as a player. Can't rate you as a player, but we can rate the abilities gained in the subclass and how they might improve your potential in those roleplay scenarios. So, with that out of the way, we have a lot of options with the monk, especially gaining extra languages and proficiencies, or potentially expertise and proficiencies throughout the course of your leveling, which is nice because you're kind of scaling into it, and it makes sense from a thematic standpoint as well. Not that we're giving score for that thematicness, but for the ability that you're kind of learning, and as you're learning, you're learning new things as you level up. So there's that with the languages and proficiencies, which is pretty good. The interrogation, basically, with the Zone of Truth is very interesting as well. There could be some very niche uses for an extra reaction in RP, though I don't really want to try to speculate too much on that, but maybe you have slow fall plus a missile deflection. Who knows? Things can get crazy sometimes. But that all being the case, definitely some interesting things on here. And extract aspects as well could be niche use depending on maybe you're trying to analyze someone that you're trying to get some information on, and you just run up and just pop up real quick.
Yeah.
You're just trying to analyze them, like, oh, sorry, I thought you were someone else. Just kind of play it off.
Yeah.
So there's some niche stuff for that as well. So definitely some interesting options. We went with a 4 on the RP side.
Yep.
Just because pretty much everything on here, you're going to have some level of...
Even if it is the best
of roleplay. The only thing is maybe not the debilitating barrage, the vulnerability.
Yeah.
That might be stretching it a little bit too much.
Yeah.
But the ability to get mystical iridation 3 times is really nice.
And again, not having to pigeonhole yourself into just choosing an extra proficiency. If you really want that expertise, you can get that. And that's cool. Not being locked into one option. You got different routes you can go. On the combat side of things, this is definitely a unique monk in terms of flavor, because you're not really giving yourself a lot of extra damage output for yourself. You're getting more. You're more kind of a supporty role monk, because you're getting this information about damage vulnerabilities and damage resistances, damage immunities, condition immunities that then your entire party now knows. The Zone of Truth thing is definitely not helping you in combat at all. Extra skill proficiencies and languages aren't really going to help you much in combat either.
Not so much.
But then you get to the Mind of Mercury giving you that extra reaction, and the uniqueness there, to know that you had that in your back pocket, I think is going to be very interesting for those who can really maximize your reaction.
Sentinel. Opportunity attack.
He said it. And we mentioned it before we came on, was that if you're multi-classing, especially, because there's a lot of other base classes and subclasses that get really interesting reactions that you can now abuse, because you've got 2 if you really want to, and it only costs you 1 key point. Heck, by the time you could get that ability, you've got 11. So, and none of the abilities you get in the subclass cost you a bunch anyway. So it's you can feel free to flurry of blows and extra reactions all the time, because it's something like, well, here goes half of my key points to use this one ability. You're free throw to do it a bunch. And finally, of course, with the debilitating barrage, being able to give something vulnerable to damage, especially if you do have rogue or blaster caster in there to absolutely burst damage on somebody, is very effective. Just a question, but it is and you can do it a bunch of times with 3 key points, but it's only one target per day, as far as you only hit the same target once per day. So if you're end up fighting one big thing, and then one big thing. You're like, oh man. You're one of the few people who really likes to see multiple things that you can poke that.
Yeah, make a bunch of things vulnerable.
Yeah, because that's what.
Then you get a big fireball.
you get a real big fireball. Because then you could, if you in melee range of two things, flurry of blows, punch, and trigger both of them with 3 key points each. Now they're both vulnerable to fireball. So all that being said, that brings our score for 3 flumps for combat. Primarily, like I said, you're not getting a lot of direct help for yourself, but you kind of got this supporty feel that and gives extra reactions is a very unique thing. Do love the unique flavoring there.
Yeah, and I think part of it is 2 of the abilities are pretty much completely RP. Like Extort Truth is not going to be combat, and Mystical Erudition is not going to be either.
Right.
And then you don't get the Barrage until 17.
Right.
So, and even the level 3 one, it's just you're learning information. You're not really dealing extra damage, So, it is what it is. And then lastly, we have the overall class synergy on here, which is actually pretty interesting because with the monks, there's not tons to synergize with.
Right.
The main thing is going to be their key points, just because that's kind of what the whole class is built around. And with the subclass, 3 of the abilities give you new uses for key points. Mm-hmm. And then the 4th one lets you get an extra addition to Flurry of Blows, which you're going to be using all the time anyway.
Right.
So pretty much every ability has a good use of synergy with your key points. And the extra reaction, of course, is really cool for some shenanigans. Mm-hmm. So you have to be kind of creative with that one as well. So basically, on this one, we just went with a solid 4. It has pretty good baseline stuff on here. But again, some of it is going to be a little bit more on the niche side sometimes.
Yep.
And, the big capstone being at 17, I mean, our monks, they just kind of, you get what you get. These are the levels you get your stuff at. Mm-hmm. But up until that point, you're not really getting a whole lot going on for your stuff.
And
it's
again,
more flavorful than anything.
I made the point on the combat side, but it also helps with your synergy and the fact that because none of the abilities in the subclass take a lot of key points, it does allow you the freedom to flurry of blows all the time. You get to high level, using your diamond soul to re-roll saving throws if you need to. Yeah. Other things that do take you a key point here, stunning strike. You feel all kinds of freedom to pop all those abilities that just cost you 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, right, because none of your abilities in your subclass are taking up a bunch of points.
Exactly. Well, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. If you guys enjoyed the video, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification so our new videos are coming out. Always love to read your comments down below. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.